I love Latin. The verbs are all, the verbs can tell you so much. It can tell you who's doing the action and when it happened and what was the actual action. So let's take a look at a verb in English. I see the word swim. Who's swimming? I don't know. Is it going to be like, is it happening now? I mean, probably. I mean, unless someone added the word will, then it's probably happening now. But I know the action itself is the action of going in water and moving our arms around and, hoping that I get to the other place. Latin doesn't have the same issue where you have to add like different words. If I want to say I will swim, let me know I'm doing the action. I have to add different words like I will swim. That is a lot of words. Let's take a look at Latin. Take a look at a Latin verb. Just like we had the word swim, this is just a Latin verb. It can tell us so much information. I can tell from this nt that my subject is they. I don't need to have it stated. I can tell from this erunt that this is a perfect statement. It is something that was completed in the past. So it's going to end with an ed. And I can tell from my first part of my verb that this is going to be the action of loving. They loved. But love ed doesn't quite make sense, so I'm just going to switch it to one word in English. They loved. In English, this is two words. In Latin, they can say it with one. So, what exactly can a verb show you? And what exactly is it? Today, I'm going to be talking about, in Latin verbs, something called a person, number, and tense. All verbs in Latin have a person, a number, and a tense. So let's talk about what we know for sure. Our tenses that we know are the present, the imperfect, the was one, or an incomplete action, and the perfect, the complete action. The person is the idea of first person, second person, and third person. But what do these even mean? Well, when I was a teenager, I used to talk in the third person. So instead of just saying, I went to the store, I would say, Deanna went to the store. Deanna bought pie. That is the idea of talking in the third person. That is what your subject is an understood name. So instead of referring to myself as I will refer to myself as my name, which is what the idea of a third person is. The second person means that your subject is you. You bought cake. That is the second person. When you are writing essays, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to use the you, but you can talk to your English teacher about that. And first person means your subject is I. And number is self-explanatory. Is it one person or is it multiple people doing something? So it's singular and plural. So let's take a look at my endings chart. You'll sometimes see me write a chart like this. First person, second person, third person, singular, and plural. So let's go ahead and finish writing my chart here. And I like to write it like this. O, or an M, an occasional M, S, T, and NT. We don't know these yet, so I'm just going to put a little X here. So if I have the word amo, according to this chart, amo is in the first person, meaning I, and it is singular, which makes sense because when I'm talking about myself, I went to the store. That is a singular thing. Only I did that. If I and my husband went to the store, then it would be we went to the store. So that makes sense. Second person would be like amas. You love. The idea that you, in the singular, are doing something. Now, in English, we also use you in the plural, but I'm from the South, and so we use y'all. So you'll never hear me saying like, you sit down, referring to a whole class. I will always say y'all. I'm sorry for all those who are listening that are not Texan. T is the idea of a he, she, or it. Same thing. It is singular, and it's talking about a person or a name. Magistra loves. That's third person. And then NT, when we have words like amant, which we've always translated as they love. Well, it makes sense because it's a group of he's and she's and it's, and there's many of them, which is why we use they. So finding the person and number, once you have this chart, is quite easy. You just look at your ending and figure out where it is. So if I have the word mones, I can tell just by looking at this chart that is second singular. The hard part is figuring out what tense it is, and we've been working on that in class. The imperfect is the one that has that BA in it. The perfect is usually going to have a V or an X in it. And we've also talked about how the ending also in the third person plural is an NT, but is ERUNT. So let's see if we can identify these ourselves.